Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a massive, and I mean massive, part of the economy that most of us never really see, the world of business markets. So when you see a logo like Oracle, what do you think? Software giant, right? A huge seller? But here's the thing. To get that big, they had to be an absolutely enormous buyer, spending billions and billions to acquire other companies. And that's the key right there. They're playing both sides of the coin. And Oracle is far from alone. We're talking about a market with over 6 million businesses just in the US. All of them are constantly buying from and selling to each other in this incredibly complex economic web. But the way a company buys a fleet of trucks or a new software system, it is a whole different ballgame from you or me picking up groceries. The scale, the process, the people involved, it operates under a completely different set of rules. So let's dive in and really explore the unique rules of this business-to-business or B2B market. Because once you understand these differences, you start to see how this giant kind of invisible part of our economy really works. And this right here really lays it all out. Think about it. As a consumer, your purchases are usually smaller, maybe a little emotional, like, ooh, I love that color, and you're the one making the call. But in the business world, we're talking huge, rational purchases made by professional buyers with a whole team of people weighing in over a much longer sales process. It's a total flip. Okay, so let's trace it back. It all starts with something simple. Let's say people suddenly start wanting more cars. That one decision at the dealership is just the beginning. That demand for new cars sends a ripple effect backwards. Now the car manufacturer has to ramp up production, which means they need to buy a lot more steel. So they place bigger orders with their suppliers. And it doesn't stop there. The steel company, to meet that new demand, now needs to buy way more coal to fire up its furnaces. See how it works? Every single thing we buy kicks off this huge chain reaction in the B2B world. And this brings us to a really core concept, derived demand. It's just a fancy way of saying that business buying doesn't exist in a bubble. It's all driven ultimately by what we, the consumers, want and need. So that begs a pretty big question, right? In one of these giant companies, who's actually the one making the call? It is almost never just one person writing a check. Well, the answer is a group of people we call the buying center. Now, this isn't an official department on an org chart. It's more like a collection of different roles that people play during any big purchase. First up, you've got the initiator. This could be anyone, an employee on the factory floor, an IT manager, who just raises their hand and says, hey, we have a problem here that we need to solve. They're the ones who get the ball rolling. Then the influencers step in. These are your technical experts, your engineers, your IT specialists. They're the ones who lay out the nitty-gritty details and say, okay, whatever we buy, it has to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Now we get to the decider. This is the person who has the actual authority, the formal power to make the final choice. Depending on how big the purchase is, this could be a department head or even someone in the C-suite. And finally, and this role is so crucial, you have the gatekeepers. Think purchasing agents, assistants, receptionists. They control the flow of information. They can decide which salesperson gets a meeting and which one doesn't. And hey, if you've ever worked in a large organization, you know exactly who these people are, and you might even be playing one of these roles yourself without even realizing it. Okay, so we know who is involved, but how do they actually do it? Well, business buying isn't some impulsive thing. It's a very deliberate, structured journey. And this is basically the roadmap. It's a whole 8-stage process. It goes all the way from that initial moment of, hey, we have a problem, to methodically searching for suppliers, picking one, and then, this is important, even reviewing their performance after the deal is done. So how do they actually pick a supplier? It's not a gut feeling. They use detailed vendor analysis, just like this. They'll literally assign a weight to what's most important, like is it price, is it reliability, and then they score each potential supplier to get a final data-driven number. It is all about making a calculated, rational choice. But you know, it's not all just cold, hard data and spreadsheets. Especially when the stakes are really high, the most successful B2B marketing is all about building trust and long-term relationships. I mean, think about it. When you see ads from companies like NetApp or SaaS, they're not just trying to sell you one specific thing. They're playing the long game. They're using this sophisticated branding to build a reputation, to scream, we're experts, we're trustworthy to the people who make the big decisions. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. In a world of multi-million-dollar deals and incredibly complex projects, that corporate credibility, that trust, it's absolutely everything. It's the foundation it's all built on. And this world of high-stakes buying, it gets even bigger. It's not just corporations. You've got massive institutions like hospitals and schools, and then there were government agencies. In fact, the US government is literally the single largest customer on the planet. It's just a mind-bogglingly huge part of our economy. So the next time you buy a coffee or a new pair of shoes, just take a second to think about that massive, invisible economic engine you just kicked into gear. Because understanding this hidden world of business-to-business deals, well, it doesn't just show you how companies work. It reveals the deep, complex, and surprisingly rational machinery that really powers our whole world.